Hello. This is another vaguely helpful play through, or how to play video, of a game called After the Flood by Martin Wallace. And I don't live in Germany, so it's hard to source. Oh yeah, those are the steps of my dog in the background. It's hard to source some like really niche games, and Martin Wallace isn't a niche designer. I've got one, and I've got another of his on the way. It's just that he does a really limited print run. And I don't think I want to buy this game, unless I find it, I guess, but I'm not going to chase it down. I just liked the idea of the mechanic. So I drew it all out, and I have a lot of these plastic caps from a friend, and I just wanted to see what it was like. And it's a little bit like mixing Small World or the original Vichy, I think is the first one called, with just like what's it called? A city builder that you gather resources. Because part of the game is expanding a city to make victory points. On this side, at the end of every round, you can put 1, 2, 3, or 4 luxury resources to make 4, 7, 10, 14, 20 points. Oh, you can put no resources and just get 4. Interesting. Didn't see that until right now. And the luxury resources will be represented by these plastic taps. This is tools, oil, gold, lapis lazuli, which is like a really fancy rock that was mined in Afghanistan. And that's all the luxury ones. But then you also have metal, wood, grain, textiles. And then on the other side of this sheet is your empires, which we will now explain. So the game is based in Sumer, which is modern day Iran, Iraq, Jordan area, I think. And it's between the Tigris and Euphrates River. And historically, which Martin Wallace is incredibly good at making things historical. Like right here, I've got his version of the old version of Tinner's Trail, which was based in the Welsh mining boom. And so he gets history into it and makes it like interesting to play. So this is based in Sumer, and the brown part is Sumer, which was like lush and easy to build things, and lots of empires functioned there. And outside of Sumer are all of these other empires or areas of the world that people rose and fell. And so each turn you get to choose between building cities and then expanding them by trading goods using your workers. Your workers are these little guys, and you get 8 of them every round. Or raising one of the empires that were around at that time, because each round is like 1,000 years or something, 500 years. And so, for example, Akkad, Guti, and Sumer were an attacking empire at the time, so you can take 10, 8, or 3 soldiers, which are just a different color of cap, and then just ruin everyone's crap. And then at the end of every round, you get 2 points per place that you've taken over. And depending on where you build your cities, you get extra city goodnesses, which can also give you points at the end of every round. And then at the end of the actual game, the more workers you have in these, the more victory points you get. So at the end of the game, if you have more in here, 3 points, 4 points, stuff like that. And so just to show you a vague round, at the end, and Martin Wallace put out a series of games that were just for 3 players. So this game doesn't play 1, doesn't play 2, doesn't play 4, it only plays 3, right? And so in this version, I guess, it's green, blue, and red. And at the start of every round, you collect. So this is our round sheet, which is quite useful. You collect, so you get 8 workers every round, if you have them. If you run out of them, you can't take 8. And at the start of the game, that's right, you get 2 extras. At the start of the game, you get 1 of each of the luxury items except lapis lazuli, and you get 1 of the non-luxury items as well, if I'm not mistaken. So you get 1 wood, 1 textiles, 1 grain, 1, oh no, that's another, 1 metal. So I'm just going to do it for the blues. And then everyone gets to reference this grain and textiles awesome little thing. So if everyone is the same, oh, I have to explain that first. Lols. So then you have this other section, weaving and irrigation. And your workers go into these. So at the start of the game, everyone has one worker in it. So everyone has one worker in this and one worker in this. And during the game, 1 second, please. So everyone has one worker in each, and whoever is a majority gets more. But at the start of the game, because everyone's at the same amount, so everyone's 1, 1, 1. So everyone gets 5 grain, and everyone gets 3 textiles. But let's say during the game, when you're putting out workers, which is one of the actions, red has 1, blue has 1, and green has 3. And then sometimes it's 0, so you just don't get anything. So then green is first, and blue and red are second, so it's 1, 2, 2. So then green would get 6 and everyone else would get 4 grain, and green would get 3 and everyone else would get 2 textiles each. But at the start of the game, everyone has the same amount in both of these. Irrigation gives you grain, weaving gives you textiles. And we'll go over the other part of that later. So at the side of the game, you collect what you need. And then in round 2 and round 4, you decline, but we'll talk about that when it gets to it. And then you go into the meat of the game, which is the actions. And the actions that you can take are build a city. So if the blues wanted to build a city, you would just get one of your big uns and put it anywhere in Suma that doesn't have anyone else. So I would put it here, because this Nippur gives you +1 VP every control in Suma. So any of the Suma states that you control, you get 1 extra point plus the 2 points you get from controlling it. So that's one action. You can build a city. You can trade. So let's say I have a worker, which we'll put the workers out soon, but let's say I have a worker in Dilmun, or 2 workers in Dilmun, and I wanted to trade this wood for something. In Dilmun, I have 2 workers, so I can trade twice, and I can trade for oil, gold, wood, and metal. But then I have to reference this trading sheet. So I can trade grain for wood or metal. I can trade textiles for wood, metal, oil, or gold. Tools for wood, metal, oil, gold. Oil for gold, gold for lapis. So the only thing wood can trade for is expanding cities at the end of the game, right? And paying for soldiers, which we'll talk about later, and paying for workers. So let's, for a better example, trade textiles. So I want some gold, so I trade textiles through my man in Dilman, because I can, and then I just put this in the thing and take the gold, right? And this is how you get luxury items to expand your cities at the end of a round. This is how you upgrade. That's basically it. That's how you pay for your workers, but we'll get that in a sec. Then you can place workers. We're already there. So let's say I want to put my 2 workers in Dilmun. I have to pay a cost for that. And the costs are 1 worker for a grain, 2 workers for a textile, 3 workers for a tools. But I did make a reference sheet for that. Where did I put that? Here. So 1 for grain, 2 for textiles, 3 for tools, 3 for oil, 4 for gold, 2 for metal, 5 for lapis. But you probably wouldn't do that with lapis because it's very rare. So then I pay my my textiles into this, and then I put my 2 workers. You can also put a worker in the scribes section, and then anytime that you play the place worker action, you can put a scribe into the used part, like you can move it across, and then you get to place 1 extra worker. That's all it does. Place an extra worker, which is usually useful when you're trying to outbid someone to start an empire, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then you can start an empire. So let's say I want to start the Akkad Empire on my turn. To start that, I have to have the majority or the same amount of workers as anyone else in Akkad. So let's say the first round, I place 2 workers into Akkad, which is here. And then let's say green on his turn also does that. But he also has put in a scribe before, so then he puts a 3rd worker in. So then when it gets back to the blue's turn, he can't start the empire because he doesn't have the majority or the same. So then it becomes green's turn, and he places his green thing on the Akkad, like one of them, not necessarily this one, so that everyone knows that he's taken Akkad. Then he takes 10 of his soldiers. In this case, it's just bigger green caps. So he would take 10, let's say that's 10. And then you can also pay for more soldiers, that is 10. So let's say he wants to pay for more soldiers and he's got this. So he can pay 1 more soldier with a grain and 2 more soldiers with a textile, same with the other thing that we looked at. And so let's say he wants that. So he puts that in, takes 3 more soldiers. And then this is his cachet for soldiers. Then you can pay to make your soldiers more strong, or stronger as it were. And on this sheet, it has your colors. So let's say green wants a stronger army, so he chucks a textiles into the green and then puts his green man on A because he's currently the strongest military. Then he takes all of his green off the place that he's starting the empire and puts 2 of his soldiers. Now, it doesn't do anything to the workers, like it doesn't have to push any workers of other colors off, but it just means that these workers don't get to trade because they're being supervised by the green, and green can trade through these because these become double as workers as well as military. So then let's say that red has gone into Guti, which is here somewhere, Guti. And so then it comes back because these guys are fighting about Akkad. So it comes back to their turn and they want to start the Guti Empire. So they chuck a red up here and take 8 of their soldiers. I'm not going to take all of them because that's ridiculous. And so that's their cachet. So they take their red off and put 2 military. And they haven't bought any more. So they just have 8. But they want a stronger military. So they just have to put more payment in their cube than 1 textile. So they put a textile and a wood. And then they get to push green down to B and red goes into here. So that's how you start an empire, right? And then you've got an empire on the board. As soon as you've got an empire on the board, you get another action, right? You get to expand or defend, or like reinforce, not defend. So let's say green wants to, what did I say? Expand. So then you can take 1 green and put it on an adjacent area. So out of Akkad, you can only put in Babylon. So let's say they put that in. Then it comes around to orange, and orange also wants to expand, so they put it here. Then green wants to reinforce Babylon because maybe they want to build a city later, so they put a second one in here. Then you can also pay for a repeat action. So let's say I want to repeat, and it's only with the empire expanding action, or reinforcement. And you can pay a soldier to repeat the action. So let's say they put 1 in Babylon, and they want to repeat the action, so they get rid of 1 and put another one in Sippa. Then they get rid of 1, and they put another one here, and get rid of 1, because this like spreads them out. Oh yeah, and then let's say they put another one in Nippur, because they want to attack the city, because that's the other action. And then that's their turn, but they've lost most of their soldiers, right? So then it comes back over to green. Let's say, oh no, that is green. It comes back to blue, and maybe blue's just wanting to build stuff and trade stuff, and somehow they get a lapis lazuli by putting a worker in here and swapping some textiles. And oh yeah, you can put a a worker in the tools section, and that just means you can upgrade metal to tools. And tools are useful because they trade for everything. So let's say you got another tool and you upgraded to lapis lazuli, blah, blah, blah. Then it comes around to red again, and red wants to attack. So red puts an orange guy, because that's their soldier color. Oh no, it's here. Wants to put in an adjacent place. So they want to attack Uruk for whatever reason. Then you take these 2 dice. This is the entire way that battle happens. It's like a simplified Risk. Because red is higher than green, red has to roll a 5 or more to win. So that's a 7, so they win. So then green has to take their soldier off the board. Now, next turn, green wants to attack. No, green wants to... I'll just tell you what happens if it's opposite. So if green was to attack, they have to roll a 7 and higher instead of a 5 and higher. Good game. Good game. And then the other action is destroying a city. And you destroy a city if you have one of your soldiers in the same region of the city, like this blue, and you sacrifice, or it costs you 2 soldiers. Unless you have a city in Babylon, then it costs... No. A city in... whatever this word is, Shurupak, then you lose 3. So that's a good defensive city to have. So sometimes, and I want to kill Nippur because then I can build my own city and get +1 VP every control in Suma, and that gives me heaps more victory points. So the game is like, so that's 1 round. And you play the actions until someone passes, and when someone passes, everyone that goes after that person as passes has to pay an opportunity tax, which can look like anything. You just have to pay 1 of anything. So you can pay 1 grain, you can pay 1 gold, you can pay whatever, right? Every time that you play after someone's passed, and then everyone passes. And the order can change if you pay for the order. So the order is here, and whoever's in the left spot goes first, and blah, blah, blah. But as you pass, you can pay like some wood, and if no one else pays wood, then you get to go first the next time. Then in between the rounds, you can expand your cities if you pay 2 wood and 0 to 4 luxury items, and that gives you quite a lot of points. And then everyone who has a place that they've taken over, they get 2 points, and then +1 point for whatever. And then there's 2 decline moments. So between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, there's this awesome mechanic that whoever's winning in the weaving and the irrigation has to take off all of their workers that are above 2, and everyone else has to take off that amount. So if you're like 2 ahead, like everyone has 2 and you have 4 and you take off 2, everyone else has to take off their workers, and then you are the only one that gets stuff, right? It's so cool. And it just shows like anyone that was outside of the Suma region also has to lose 1 worker because they're away from the rivers. Apparently this game takes 2 to 3 hours to play, and I get that, but playing it by myself and representing all 3, it took a lot less than that. So I guess if you know the rules, it can be a bit faster, and if you make decisions really fast, it could be faster. But because each round is determined by however long you want to go, that can be quite long. And I really like this game. I really want to get some friends over to play it. And I've got another Martin Wallace game in the mail, which I think will be a little bit different because it's not war related, but I think it'll, have some similar themes and historic accuracy, which I'm looking forward to. Anyway, so this is After the Flood. I think it came out in the early 2000s. If anyone finds me a copy for not ridiculous amounts of money, please tell me.